Everyone. I think most of my viewers, those who interact with this channel, will know who Julius Evola was. But just in case, he was the 20th century Italian philosopher of the traditionalist school. And he lived through, obviously, World War I, and he lived through the fascist regime in Italy and became rather influential after the war. But he's seen in the last 30 years or so, the last decade of the 20th century, first two of the 21st, sort of a resurgence, a brief renaissance. I don't know that he's still revered, but he was interesting. And I think, ironically, for all his anti Americanism, American pop culture had a lot to do with that. Basically, I don't agree with his hierarchical view of society, at least in the spiritual sense. His is a spiritual hierarchy where the warriors, the priests, the kings, the elite are actually tied to a superior world, to a spiritual hierarchy. He calls it the bridge builder, the pontifex, what we call the Pope nowadays. But I don't agree with that. I do believe people are unequal, and I think that's where he gets something right. He grew up in the sort of 1815 post-Napoleonic consensus, the emergence of the liberal bourgeoisie, the merchant as the ruling class as opposed to the warrior or king. And what I think he gets right is that there's something deeply sick about that order. And other thinkers, leaders saw this. Nietzsche saw it. He didn't reach into metaphysics. He reached into the world. He reached into our existence right now. Carl Schmitt saw it. He saw the weakness of Germany after the war and the inevitable collapse of the Weimar Constitution. And I think that's what Evola and those of us on the right understand. We understand there's something deeply problematic in the way we've lived for the last 100 years or so. And I have Evola reading Fight Club in the little thumbnail for this video, and I think that's something. There was Fight Club, and then there was also The Dark Knight Rises and The Dark Knight and Batman Begins. So there was those stories about destroying the modern world. There was the Project Mayhem in Fight Club, which sort of sought to topple consumeristic society. And then there was the League of Shadows in Batman Begins. I'm dating myself in this, or perhaps, this is lame now. But yeah, those movies really captured something of the post-Cold War consensus, just going into the war on terror. And I think that's something that really gave Evola some momentum. Not sure if that's still relevant, but you can tell me. Is Evola a man of the hour, or is he just a meme? Is he just a hopeless meme?